stuff around the house. It was great. Testing. Hey, Riley. Oh, hi, Riley.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. You're early. It's gonna be 6:30, the meeting.
Oh, it is? Perfect. Then I'm actually gonna log out.
Okay, we'll see you in about a half
I
hour.
thought it was at 6.
Me too.
Bye.
Thanks.
So You've been doing a great job managing.
Want the last name?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean,
So busy.
right, and, you know, not that I'm stepping up, offering to step up, but, you know, I mean, the last two people, that was extraordinary, how long they served. And, you know, sometimes it's good to have.
I always wanted.
Oh, really? Good. Oh. Yeah. Yeah. Where do you work, Zach?
I work for a boss.
Oh. Yeah, me too. Really care for it.
Legal. Awesome.
Yeah. So you're one of those law firms that actually does a lot of.
Hello, Ms. Akeem.
How are you?
I'm good. We're sharing this table.
Oh, goodness, Zach. Hi. Very nice to meet you.
Thank you for coming.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, Zach said, do you know her? I'm like, yes, I do.
With apologies, I'll have to dash out not long after, I ran out from work and have to run back to work.
So we'll have you go first and,
Yeah,
well,
I've got some time.
Okay.
Just, yeah, no, that's fine. I just.
Yeah, we're pretty close to the beginning of the agenda
Yeah, so-
anyway.
Just
Great.
sitting up here means everyone will have to see me stand up.
It's okay.
Because I probably will too.
Oh, hi, Arlene.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Just gonna give it a few minutes here.
Well, if you want me to. Okay, what do I need?
So,
No.
to give it to somebody.
A whole speech.
Okay.
It's kind of weird to give it to me.
Well, no, actually, it was another document. I brought it just to remind myself what I wanted to talk about.
That knows.
I did a recent advocacy update in one of our newsletters, so I
Oh, excellent.
brought most of it.
Very cool.
So no slideshow, right?
No,
Makes things easier on my end.
no
We
worries.
always have an issue with slides. So it's, they advance here. They don't advance on Zoom.
Yeah.
Until you bump it out and go back in and then. You have to stop sharing your screen, reshare your screen.
Oh, yeah, no. I actually kind of focused my talk on cutting.
How are you?
I kind of focused it on the idea
I'm
of
just getting over something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
how
That.
learning neighborhood history and hyper-local history can be.
No, it is not. I've taken two tests. Negative.
So do you found?
Yeah.
My son has it. I do exactly.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's in New Jersey.
yeah.
I did look at the Open County level. But it's, well,
Hey, Mark, how are you? Good to see you.
Yeah, well, we were down in the city right after Thanksgiving, and I am certain that's the case. Yeah.
You did yourself? So I guess condolences and congratulations on keeping this
As a chair.
Yeah. Heard.
It's great.
I think it's gonna be the lead story tonight.
We got a couple presenters. Nominated.
You've done a great job.
Thanks.
So you got Daniel Webster. He came all the way back from the 1700s. Do you write the dictionary?
You know,
Noah Webster wrote the dictionary. Can you hear me, Zach?
Hey, Ted, hi, how are you? That's good. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Noah Webster wrote the dictionary. Daniel Webster was the state senator from Massachusetts and also Secretary of State in the 1800s.
At least you know your history.
Yeah, well, I had to know because of my name.
Okay, let's see who else we got. We have Dan Van Riper over in Lincoln Park.
Oh, the police report,
Officer Storiali, how are you, sir?
I know, get the important stuff out.
depending on what they talk about.
We got Rob Morton from Delaware area. Hi, Rob. Thanks for joining us.
It was lovely. I took 10 days off. My husband did not. So I just had like 10 days to do like,
Got Pat Maxon from Upper Washington. Hi, Pat.
it was great. So yeah, we went to my friend's.
Hey, what about me?
Hey, Ray. How you doing? Ray Moran, Eagle Hill, I think, right?
Yes, well, sort of, yes.
Good to see you.
I took like the Thursday, Friday off before Thanksgiving week.
Got Gloria Russo.
So really it was only a week's worth of time,
Yeah,
but it was 10 days.
right. Has everything gotten picked up from Bill? Yep.
Yeah, actually, this year was really good.
Oh, that is good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cause I mean, we have stuff from years ago still there
What the heck?
and it's paid for. most
Yeah,
of it.
right? Yeah.
It's like, oh, at some point.
You need to have a resale, yeah.
Well, yeah, sometimes I'll throw it in the feast auction if it's not too buildish. You know, because I try to keep them separate, but
Okay, got Michelle, got Officer Singh. Hi, how are you?
art floating around the office from years ago. Like, let's just put this in the auction. And then I'm really glad I did because then because 2020 was 2020.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of stuff that we just had in the office ended up being the auction.
Hey, good to see everybody. How we doing tonight?
It's like somebody.
Hi, Michelle,
Yeah.
Hi,
how are you?
great. Oh, good.
Yeah, so yeah, we're starting to.
Got
play
Maura McNulty. Hi, Maura.
control too.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
How are you,
What an
Maura?
incredible.
Good, how are you?
Headache,
Good.
but I loved
We're gonna
going.
get started in just a moment, okay, everybody?
So it was our favorite event by far. So I am
Please.
nostalgic for that.
Yeah. It's,
I get it.
it's a crapshoot. And I'm not, I don't know if people are ready yet.
This is true.
You know,
Yeah.
So there's
a lot of people
that.
may not-
So I think we're gonna do kind of like what we did last year, different venue.
Oh, yeah.
And then so.
That was a
that'll-
lovely barn.
So that'll get us through 23 and then 24 will probably change everything up because it'll be our 50th anniversary.
You got Riley. Hi, Riley.
That's fantastic.
So.
Oh, my God.
So we kind of have to figure out what's 50 gonna look like
Right.
and event wise, and I'm really hoping that we'll be moving into 48 Hudson.
By then.
Yeah.
Wow.
Cause I would love for all of that to happen in the same year.
Oh, wow. It's an ambitious timetable. That's.
Well, it
good
depends on
luck.
when the
That'd be
money
great.
comes in. We
Yeah.
can get the work done if we have the money.
Amen.
You know?
It's just always so.
Yes, so it depends on where the grants start falling. But it would be great if we can move in for the 50th anniversary.
Well,
That would
that's
be-
a lot.
that would be
That's so
awesome.
cool. There is, there's so much potential and so much work in that.
I could do that.
down
Sure.
there.
Yeah, I was at a conference yesterday that Gillibrand's office put together called Reconnecting Communities. And it was really the big cities across New York State. It was Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse,
Okay.
Albany, New York City.
Fuck were you doing?
All right, folks, it's about,
How do we fix redlining?
hey, folks, it's about 6:31. Why don't we go ahead and get the meeting started?
That just including here.
We're gonna get the meeting started. All right, thanks, everybody. for joining us here in person on Zoom, YouTube, Facebook. Welcome to the Wednesday, December 7th, Council of Albany Neighborhood Associations meeting. I'm Zach Simpson, CANA Chair. For some who may not have been on last month's meeting, I did advise the group that I would not be seeking another term as chair. So tonight will be my last official meeting, but I just want to, before we start with our Albany Police Department update, just say it's been an absolute pleasure. It's been a very exciting 2 years. It's been a very busy, full 2 years, but I don't regret doing this. It's been a really great pleasure, and I hope I served you well. So just want to say that.
We're gonna miss you, Zach.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So to start things off as usual, let's go over to Officer Webster with the Albany Police Department.
Thanks, Zach. First, I want to say thank you. You have been a pleasure to work with, and thank you for all your hard work. Fortunately, I still get to work with you on the Upper Washington Neighborhood Association, so I won't be missing out. Just going over a few stats. This is the last meeting of the year, so I wanted to go through a few statistics that we've had year round. Things that are up. I'm going to give the bad news, not the good. Yeah, robberies, we've had year to date 230 robberies, and that's up 39%. Burglaries 509, that's up 55%. And motor vehicle theft 419, which is up 48%. So those are the numbers we're definitely concerned about. And like the motor vehicle theft thing is something we've really been pushing to get people to, not leave their keys in the car. One other thing I wanted to touch on, something that's been happening over the last couple of weeks, is we've had Facebook Marketplace robbery setups. So my advice on that is we've had 6 reported cases of that. Somebody is setting people up on a purchase of something off Facebook Marketplace and then robbing them when they get there. So it's something that our detectives are working on. But my recommendation would be, if you're going to do a Facebook Marketplace exchange, you can always do it at the police stations. More than happy to have people in the lobby doing that. And my guess is if somebody was going to want to do a robbery, they wouldn't do it there. So that's my recommendation on that. Any exchanges for that matter, always welcome at our police stations to do it. Year to date, we have recovered 138 illegal guns off the street, which is up 25% from last year. So that's good news. Good and bad news, I guess, depending how you're looking at it. Last year was 111. Other than that, those are the stats I have. The last 30 days since the last meeting, actually a lot of things are down. So as compared to the rest of the year, and I like to thank the best crime preventer we have is Mother Nature. So as it gets colder, it definitely does slow some of the street crime that we have issues with. But if anybody has any questions, that's all I got for tonight.
Anybody have questions? Oh, you want to give Mark the, here we have
Yeah,
Mark Gronich.
Sure, I give you that number.
What about murders?
So we have
Assaults?
19 murders this year, which is, we had 18 last year, which unfortunately was a record year last year, now a record this year. So yeah, that's not a good sign, but that's where we are on that.
Yeah, got a follow-up question.
Why can't you do better? I mean, you got a chief that the mayor has a lot of confidence in. I mean, I remember not too long ago, used to count 1 a month. So there would be 12 murders in the city a year. And I just don't understand what is taking, you also had an assault in the Jewish community up along Scotland Avenue, where someone said free Palestine and they hit the Jewish kids up one side of the head, and you didn't bring that up. I mean, what's going on in the city here with anti-Semitism and hate crimes?
Well, I am familiar with that particular incident. It's a juvenile matter. As far as I know, That kid has not been found at this point, but my partner and I have actually been doing details on Scotland Ave on the weekends to keep an eye out on the community and just riding up and down the Scotland Ave and Whitehall Road best we can. As far as preventing crime, I mean, a lot of things have changed over the last few years. You know, I'm not going to get into, you know, all the politics of everything, but we have bail reform, raise the age. Policing is just changing. So I can't say why people would murder somebody more now than they would 5 years ago, but I'm sure somebody else can give examples.
Things are changing, but I don't see them for the better when you have record murders and record crime statistics.
Okay, thanks, Mark.
That's
Is
true.
there any other questions, folks? Okay. Well, thank you, Officer Webster. Appreciate it as always for your report. And I'll
Thank you.
hopefully see you next Wednesday at the UANA meeting.
Yes, sir.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. All right. So I'm going to turn things over to our first presenter tonight. It's Akim Nordur. She is the author of the book, The History of Here, A House, the Pine Hills Neighborhood in the City of Albany. It's a really great book. And I encourage you all to get a copy and read it. It's really, really great. So thank you very much, Akim. And whenever you're ready, thank you.
Thank you. Let me see how close I have to get to this to talk. Is that good? Does that sound
Can
good?
everybody hear Akim okay?
Is this projecting well? Okay, good.
Okay, you were good.
Sorry.
You're good. Yep.
Thank you very much for having me. I thought I would talk a little bit about the book project and then a little bit about the role that learning about hyper local history, neighborhood history can do for people who are interested in neighborhood activism and in promoting neighborhood growth. First about the book project. I moved to Albany in 1994 to go to graduate school. Before I moved to New York, I had lived in maybe 9 different towns in 4 different states. We were always one of those families that wasn't from here, wherever here was. You're familiar with military brats. I was a journalism brat. It's kind of the same, except with less stability. We liked that. I enjoyed getting to know different parts of the country. We always rented our houses, so we moved around, didn't really put down roots. When I moved to Albany, I fell in love with it. It was the first place I'd ever seen that I felt like I might want to stay here. I loved the architecture. I loved the age of the city. I loved that the neighborhoods were so different from each other. I love that you could walk to places. I love the old houses and I really love the people. So I did. I stayed. Eventually, 2003. By that point, I'd lived in probably 5 different neighborhoods of Albany. The Pine Hills was my favorite, so that's where I bought my house. And after I bought it, this was the kind of house that growing up in ranch houses, I had always dreamed of, like a house, with real doors in it. 1912 arts and crafts house with wooden floors and stairs and a porch, all of that. And there were so many of them in Albany. It just seemed like this wealth of these houses that looked like something from another time. So I was very curious, like who built this house? Why did they build it in this way and at this time? And how has this neighborhood had the kind of stability that it's had over a century plus? I really wanted to learn more. And so I found out. I traced the history of my property back to the last man who farmed it, whose name was Ludwig Marx, an immigrant from Germany who was a market gardener. I spoke with the families of everyone who had owned my house over the previous century. And I told their stories in the book, and told the story of the neighborhood's growth. And what it turned into was a way to tell the story of Albany in the 20th century. Kind of told, kind of from the point of view or the view from my front porch, but looking at the city as a whole. So that was kind of the heart of the project. But it was not just about the history. I'm not actually that into nostalgia. Though I do think history is very useful for a couple of reasons that I'll come back to. My goal with the book was to make an argument for why city neighborhoods matter. Albany.
Jim says he's good.
Oops, sorry. One second, I think it's Officer Harrigan, sorry, I mean, oh, he muted himself, thank you.
Sorry,
Yeah,
guys.
folks.
Hopefully that wasn't unmuted for too long.
Sorry, but it's okay.
No worries. So I wanted to make an argument for city neighborhoods and for, in particular, the potential that I saw in Albany's neighborhoods, that it's blessed with qualities that at this moment people are looking for as they're looking to see where they want to put down roots. The walkability, the sense of place, the multi-generational housing options, the mixed-use neighborhoods where you can walk to stores, parks and trees. I mean, and living in a place where you can actually see your neighbors and not just drive into your garage and go in your house at night. You know, I've lived in the city of Albany for quite a while now, completely understand that there are a lot of challenges that the city is facing and that neighborhoods are facing. But I was trying in my book to make an argument that those assets, that potential should shape our approach to the future, or at least help us beat back apathy or despair. So I'd like to talk about some of the reasons why I encourage people who are active in neighborhoods to delve into neighborhood history and use that as something to build on in neighborhood development. So I'll talk just about a few of those reasons and then a couple of ways that neighborhood associations could approach it. The first thing that history is good for is providing context. Understanding why things are the way they are, because that helps plan what to do next. You know, many of the decisions and the policies of the past, we can see today the harm that they did. An obvious example is redlining. But spreading an understanding of it, educating people about it, and making it part of the contemporary conversation has fueled conversations about how to target investment in areas that had previously suffered from systemic racism, and how to promote home ownership in those areas. So you can build future action on that understanding of the past. Another thing that history is useful for is for placemaking, story building. Understanding where a place came from and who built it. People are drawn to a place with roots, and you can build community off of that. People like to have a sense of pride in where they live and being part of a larger story. And then finally, I think of learning local history as a source of strength. People who built the institutions that shape our neighborhoods, like churches and parks and community centers and libraries and all of that, they faced a lot of challenges to do that. And that's inspiring, but that's not really what I think it's really good for. What I think is more valuable about learning those origin stories is that they remind us that the world is built by the people who show up. I'm thinking of Better Homes in the South End in the 1960s, advocating to improve conditions down there. And I'm thinking of the fight to keep the library in the Pine Hills in the 1980s. That's something I wrote about in my book. In writing that section about the Pine Hills Library Initiative, I had a quote in there that says, "You get the neighborhood you fight for, or at least you don't get the neighborhood you don't fight for." And I think that it's good for us to be reminded that things don't just happen. Progress is made because people make it. That there's a sense of responsibility that we should feel. So a couple of things that neighborhood associations could do to promote that sense of place through hyperlocal history. One thing is to put out a call for old photographs, anything that shows place. It could be on the local business strip, but it could also be kids on a sidewalk in a residential neighborhood, or a family dressed up for church on Easter Sunday, standing in front of the church in 1950. Collecting both private images and images from local archives. We have a couple of excellent resources here, including the library, as well as the County Hall of Records and the Albany Institute. They all have great collections of local street scenes, and compiling a display at your local library branch or school or online. I do this every year in our neighborhood for the Upper Madison Street Fair. It's something that it's always been very well received and stirs people to bring in more images and more stories, and they kind of deepen the connections to that history. Another thing to do that I would love to see neighborhood associations do more is to collect oral histories from longtime residents. It really doesn't take much more than a phone with a voice recorder and, 4 or 5 general questions, like what's your earliest memory from school, or where did you get your groceries, or what did kids do in the summer? This is something that could be an incredibly valuable contribution with transcripts left, in the library or in another local archives, to save stories of life in Albany in past decades, frankly, before they're gone. The third thing is to help people learn the history of their own properties and the people who lived in them in the past. There are lots of resources locally for this. The County Hall of Records on Tivoli Street can help get you started. I'm sure the Albany Room at the library can as well. And Historic Albany does some of that with their plaque program, and I'm sure they would be happy to direct you to different resources as well. In the before times, I have run presentations on how to get started in doing this. Telling people how to start doing deed searches and use assessment rolls and city directories and all of that. So I've run a couple workshops on that. If there is anyone whose neighborhood association would like me to host a talk on that, I'd be very happy to. And it's not for everyone, but for the people who are bookish and like reading through old documents, and microfilm doesn't make them go cross-eyed. It's actually kind of fun. It's a lot of rabbit holes. So I'll warn you, it's hard to stop once you start. You might write a book. I will end by noting just that neighborhood associations in Albany and CANA in particular are overdue for someone to write more fully about their history. This is my first time to talk to CANA, so I just want to shout out the powerful role that this organization played, frankly, in returning democracy to Albany in the face of a political machine in the 60s and 70s that liked keeping people dependent on their alderman and their ward leader, to see city services as favors rather than something that were your rights. And neighborhood associations were a real thorn in the city's side. And for that, I say thank you and keep up the good work. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you, Hakeem. Is questions from the group? I think Mark's got his hand up there. Oh.
Thank you. I just wanted to make a point that you should consider Channel Albany, which is in the lower level from this building right below us. In terms of archives, in terms of oral history, use their equipment, have it stored at the channel. That's the great resource. So you have some consistency. So I would make a plug that you connect with the studio coordinator and you work something out if this is really the direction that you want to see this go.
Thank you. Any other questions? I think we're okay then. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, Akeem, for presenting. I really appreciate it. Thank you. All right. So thank you. Thank you. All right. So up next, we have Pamela Howard. She is the Executive Director of Historic Albany Foundation. She's here to tell us all about their busy year, huh?
Yes, thank you so much,
Thank you,
Zach.
Pam.
Thanks for the invitation. It's always a pleasure to get out. I have to be honest, I don't get to as many neighborhood association meetings as I would like to. You know, obviously time and a little tiny staff. There's only 5 of us and most are part-time. So for those who don't know a lot about us, just a quick introduction. Historic Albany Foundation is basically a membership organization. We were founded in 1974 at the tail end of building the Empire State Plaza. As some of you may know, there was supposed to be an exit ramp out of the west side of the plaza, and a group of folks got together and said, we've lost enough neighborhoods, no more. And they got together as an advocacy group, which turned into Historic Albany Foundation. And 48 years later, we're still here with a mission to still keep Albany standing. Our exact mission is really, we advocate for endangered buildings in Albany. And we do that through education, technical services, and education programs, and also our parts warehouse on Lexington Avenue. Throughout the year, we hold a lot of special events. We do probably everybody's familiar with our movable feast that we do in the spring. Since the pandemic, we're not as movable. We're just feast now. At some point when we feel it's safe, we may go back to the old model, but for right now, putting everybody in one room and not sending them out to strangers' houses is probably the way to go. We also do Built in November, which is a large art auction, and the theme for that is our built community in the capital region. We just held that about a month ago, and we had over 1,000 people over 4 days at the Argus Hotel on Thurlow Terrace. So fabulously successful, and having the new model since the pandemic has really also let us reach a lot more people and have a lot more folks in, rather than just the one night cocktail party. So we will be sticking with that new model, and we just decided we'll be at the Argus for at least another year. So that location has worked out really, really well for us. We also do the House and Garden Tour and Stoop Stroll in the summer in conjunction with the Center Square and Hudson Park Neighborhood Association. So we'll be working on that as soon as the new year comes, and see what we'll be doing for next June. So what we've been working on advocacy wise this year, we had chosen 4 different areas to work on. One of them being Lexington Avenue, which is our own street, opening up our new tool library, our restoration fair, and also 48 Hudson, which is the oldest house in Albany, which is a 1728 building downtown that we own and have been restoring. We've created a sort of a coalition of folks called Better Lexington. So we've been working for anybody I can't imagine anybody's not aware of some of the situations on Lexington Avenue, especially Lexington and Sherman. It's been pretty dangerous. A lot of crime, a lot of nefarious activities. We've been working with the city, with the police department, with code enforcement. Code enforcement was able to close down one of the worst, most troublesome buildings. And while having a boarded up building is not a long-term solution, but for right now, sort of cleaning up that corner has been made a huge difference for us. It's not as dangerous. We haven't had the crime, haven't had to call the police lately. It's a much safer situation for my staff, my volunteers, and my customers who come to the warehouse. So through a huge group effort of folks on Lexington, it's actually, we've actually been making a difference and helping our own street. In the summer, we opened up our new tool library. It's located in our warehouse on Lexington Avenue. So far, we've had over 85 new members, and people are borrowing tools, bringing them back. We have all kinds of tools, anything that you would need for a home improvement project and a lot of things that go with it. We have wheelbarrows, we have ladders, extension cords, everything that goes along with the project. We have kits that you can get, plumbing kits, door hanging kits. We have saws, we have hand tools, we have pretty much everything that you would need. So we are open Wednesday afternoons from 3 to 6 and Saturday mornings from 9 to 12. So it's actually been going even better than we had imagined. And we were fortunate also this year to get a $50,000 grant from the city through the ARPA funding. So that money is for the future, so that we can make sure that the tool library stays in excuse me, in West Hill when we move to our new location at 48 Hudson. And also we want to replicate it around the city. So that's the ARPA money is really for the future and growth and expansion for the tool library. So if you haven't stopped by, please do. We also lend out a lot of tools to some of the city departments for when they're due on neighborhood cleanup. So if you have, vacant lot cleanups and things in the spring, we are more than happy to assist with that part as well. In May, we held our restoration fair. And again, we did it on Lexington Avenue to further our mission there. We were able to borrow an empty lot that's owned by ACAP. We put up tents, we had speakers, we had vendors, pretty much anything anybody needed to know about buying and restoring an old home. So we had a fabulous day. We had Stewart's ice cream because it was about 95 degrees that day. But it was great. We had at least 125 attendees that day coming to hear about, like I said, anything to buy and restore old homes. So we're planning to do that again this year on Lexington Avenue. 48 Hudson, our building down on Lower Hudson Avenue in downtown Albany, 1728 oldest house in Albany. We've been working really hard to restore that. We received a $500,000 grant at the end of last year that we'll be putting to use in the new year that will help us to restore the roof and the facade. We also have some other grants out there. So we are hoping, if all goes well, to be fully located in 48 Hudson by the end of 2024, which will be our 50th anniversary year. Our warehouse will be moving with us and will occupy the entire first floor. And we will have public education and meeting spaces as well as our offices. So we are looking forward to that transition. I'm not sure we're looking forward to the actual move and moving our warehouse, but I think it makes perfect sense for us to be in the oldest house and take care of it. So that is really all of the things that we have been working on this past year. Aside from technical services calls, we have staff who, especially if you are in a historic district, we can help you navigate the city departments, make sure that you're doing what you need to do to get a building permit, to work with the Historic Resources Commission. So we answer all of those calls. We are not the ones who decide what kind of windows you can have. We're not the ones who decide what color to paint your house, but we can help you navigate all of those things with the city. So we offer all of those services. Also, in conjunction with our tool library, we've been offering a series of how-to classes. Actually, this weekend, we're having one on photo restoration. We've had lamp rewiring, we've had gardening. So we plan to do some seminars every month in conjunction with the tool library, because we also want you to borrow the tools and we want you to be safe. We don't want anybody losing a finger on our watch. And so we've been working really hard on that as well. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but that's a little bit about what we do every day.
I'm really interested in the tool library. So how do you go about it? Do you have to get like a library card kind of thing?
Actually, we do have library cards. It's a $20 annual fee. And you can come in when we're open and borrow your tools, keep them for a week, bring them back if you need them for longer. We can extend that, but it is a flat rate of $20 for the year.
That's excellent. My house is about 80 years old, so there's always something to do.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing too. You may need a tool just for one weekend for one project, so there's no point in going and buying it.
That's great. No, it's excellent. Okay, I think I saw Dan Van Riper's hand go up first. Dan?
Hi. You're moving your offices into 48 Hudson. I haven't been inside the building for many years, but when I did, I took a tour through it with John Wolcott, who's probably more responsible for that building being preserved than anyone else. The thing that he showed is that you could go through the building and see the different layers of renovation that had been done since 1728. There had been a lot of changes. And it was really fascinating listening to his description of stuff. Seems to me that if you're moving in there and putting your offices in there, all that's going to be obliterated. Shouldn't 48 Hudson be a museum, try to enhance all this stuff? After all, you could put your offices literally anywhere.
Well, a couple of things are, we had decided, well, first of all, we have 3 really wonderful house museums in Albany. And to be honest, they struggle, not, and I don't think that we need another one. And also the restoration work that we are doing on 48 Hudson is going to be very cautious. And our goal was to have the building open to the public. And we're not going to sheetrock over everything. We are going to leave as much of the original fabric as possible for people to be able to see it and come in and visit the warehouse. Even if you come in, you're passively going to be learning about everything in that building. So especially the post and beams and all of the woodwork from 1728. So the vast majority of it will still be on view.
Maura, you have a hand? Oh, was there a question here at the?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on a second.
So I had a question about the 48 Hudson building, because right now the facade has the covering over it.
Yeah,
with
it's
the
a theater
picture.
scrim.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And when you were saying you were going to restore that, so is your goal that you'll be able to take that off of there and people will be able to see the actual front of the building?
Yes, the front of the building is going to be restored to what we believe it looked like in 1728. And we have a lot of evidence from that where the anchor beam that goes across the front of the building, there's notches, so we know where the windows and doors were. So it will look like the little Dutch house that it was in 1728.
Okay, thank you. Because I'm assuming there's a lot of stabilizing that must have to take place.
Yeah, the first phase that we did was we stabilized the foundation. It was missing the east and the south foundation wall. So that was one of the first things that we did in the building. And then the second phase was really to repair and replace some of the post and beams that were in the house.
And can I ask another question?
Sure, go ahead.
You're the people that do the plaques on the building, on the houses in
Yes.
Albany. How would somebody go about finding out how to possibly have one of those?
You can just call our office. We have an
Okay.
employee who does that. And right now we do have a waiting list because it is so popular. And unfortunately, right now, the hours are a little bit limited at the Hall of Records for us to go and visit. So you can get on the waiting list and we're more than happy to help with that.
Okay, thank you.
I think I saw Maura McNulty had her hand up. Maura?
Hi. So first of all, this has been really interesting to me, partly because over the past year or so, I've really been noticing how many historic houses there are in Albany. So my first point is, thank you for doing all that great work. It's very, very cool to see those houses. My question is, I'm wondering also if Historic Albany is helping people weatherize their houses and make them more energy efficient, so that they'll continue to be livable into the future.
We don't necessarily do that ourselves, but we do a series of workshops, and we've also partnered here with the library on weatherization classes. So we do offer information on that.
Oh, great. Thank you so much.
Okay. Any other questions from here at the library or on Zoom? Okay.
Great. Thank you, Zach.
Thank you very much, Pam. Thank you very much. Okay. Let's see what's next on the agenda. John O'Grady, do you have a codes committee update for us? It's not there.
Sorry, I was in the transition between Helen and me. I think our next one will probably be in late January, or early February.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, John. All right. So on to new business. We have two items. There's the CANA 2023-2024 nominating committee report, and then the election of officers item. And I'm just going to turn things over to Joe Caniff and Maura McNulty. And I just want to thank them once again for all the work that they did this year on the slate of candidates. Thank you very much, Joe and Maura. Whenever you're ready.
Okay, well, so couple things. First of all, I really, I think Joe and I both would like to start with just acknowledging the truly unbelievable amount of work that Zach has put in to our neighborhoods, both as president over the past couple of years, but long prior to that, his involvement with all kinds of other neighborhood organizations. Yeah, so I just want to take a minute to just acknowledge Zach's incredible leadership. It's been important to me personally, and I know it's been important to a lot of other people as well. So, with that said, we have had we have a full slate of people who are willing to serve on the executive committee. Zach is willing to serve as a secretary. Riley is interested in being vice chair. Assuming that no one else has a burning desire to do it, I will be treasurer. Where that leaves us is without a chair. And so Joe and I would like to, first of all, see if anybody here is interested in volunteering to be chair, or if they have someone else who they'd like to nominate to be chair. Okay, and so hearing crickets on that, it is a huge job, so we see why people are a little hesitant to take it on. What I think Joe and I would like to propose is that we consider the possibility of tabling elections for this meeting, and then using January as a way of reconsidering the structure of how CANA is organized. Maybe we want to go to more of a, sort of a board model, but use our January meeting to talk about that. So I think the first thing we have to do is make a motion to table elections.
Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion on that? Pat, go ahead.
Unmute,
you
Pat.
gotta unmute yourself, Pat.
How did you know I was asking? I'm impressed. See, he's a leader. We can't let him go. The question is, the leadership council, first of all, thanks to those of you who are willing to step up already. Are you feeling like we need to take any official action to recognize those folks who are willing to lead in the interim? To say that this, council of leaders will take us into January? In case anything comes up between now and the January meeting. I guess I'm asking Maura.
That's a good question.
Because I would propose that we recognize this group that's been nominated to lead our discussion, at least in January.
Is the process?
I believe Zach has kind of volunteered to lead that discussion, even though he's stepping down.
Right.
Zach, am I correct in that?
Yes. I think if we table the election, we reconvene in January, almost like almost a workshop style meeting where we put out to everybody all of the duties that keeps CANA running, and talk about how the bylaws would have to be amended. Those are things that should happen in January. And then if we're agreeable on a new structure, bylaw amendments, then we'd introduce them in, I guess, February, and then vote on them in March.
Maura, can you share your screen with the people who have so far agreed to be on the
Leadership
executive
group.
committee?
Well, I will, I think my screen is too, well, yeah, I guess I could share it.
Let me spotlight you. Hold on.
All right.
Thank you. I appreciate you entertaining the question. Thanks.
Okay.
Oh, well, that's a good
Oh,
question.
you are spotlighted now.
Okay, so Maura, I think you're able to share your screen now.
Okay, give me 1 sec to kind of clean it up a little bit. I wasn't really planning on sharing. Screen, sorry.
All those other emails, right?
Let's see. I will hang on 1 second.
Actually, you know what?
Let me, well,
Here.
can I read them to you guys? Because I wasn't expecting to
Sure,
share.
that's fine. That's fine.
All right, so the chair sadly is empty for the moment. Vice chair, please speak up if I'm mistaking any of this. Vice chair is Riley. Secretary is Zach. I will be treasurer unless someone else has a burning need to. The executive committee is Tabora, Andrew, Dan, Arlene, and Ray. Is that whatever, am I?
That sounds right.
And Tabor is not in the meeting tonight? To say
No,
yes
she's
or no?
not.
Okay.
No.
Arlene is though, and Riley, and Rob. Well.
So I mean, those are the
So-
candidates that we had on the slate, but we did not have a chair, so we're
Yeah.
looking forward to next month to discuss. And Zach, why don't you discuss the various ideas that, just to put it out there so that when we have our January meeting, we kind of have we have the level set of what we're thinking, and because we're talking about co-chairs, we did talk about co-chairs, and then we talked a little bit about just having a.
So my vision would be a managing board of maybe between five and 10 at the max, where we really would do a full assessment of everything that is done to keep CANA moving forward, plus potentially additional items that we could think about that would be helpful to keep us active and keep neighborhood associations strong. But I think it's going to be, that January meeting is going to be a full assessment of, what responsibilities are there, and then what bylaw amendments we need to work on. But the primary thing is, assessing what is done and coming up with a plan of how to balance the load by, distributing responsibilities a little more evenly amongst several people.
And I agree with that. Zach, I look forward to seeing you as a president of UWANA. And I'm a past president, so is Pat. Lots of people have been president of UWANA, and there's a lot of work involved. So being president of CANA, it's a huge workload. So being able to distribute that workload amongst several people makes sense. But we still need a guiding light to make sure that workload gets distributed properly.
Mm-hmm.
I would say also that, I think there's a lot of permutations of this, and so that can work well. I will say for the Melrose Neighborhood Association, we actually are 90% through the process of writing our bylaws, which has been a surprisingly interesting and productive process. But we do it more on a sort of like we do it as a board, really. So there's 7 of us, and we sort of make decisions together, and people kind of step up and step back, based on their expertise and interest, and that kind of thing. So it's probably a little less formal than what CANA needs, but I don't want to put you on the spot, Riley, but I don't know do you want to make comments now, or I'm just curious what your thinking is.
Yeah, I think it makes sense first for us to table any, large scale discussion and kind of focus more on the plan going forward, so that in January we can present a full plan to the board.
So is it, unless there's more discussion, can I make a motion to table the elections till January?
I second it.
All right.
Okay, any further discussion or opposition? Okay, all in favor of tabling the election?
I
Aye.
Okay. Okay. So, so what we'll do is we will reconvene the first Wednesday in January and start this discussion on a new way forward for CANA as leadership goes. So, okay. All right. Let's see. Is there any other new business folks want to bring up?
I wanted to ask, I like maps and we have a really good one, except it's not accurate, that we've been using for a long time. A lot of parts aren't accurate. And Zach, I know that you at least started to work on that. Is there anyone working on that now? I don't have the technology, but I have the knowledge.
I'm sorry, you're talking about the neighborhood maps, John?
Yeah, I'm sorry, the neighborhood association map.
It's still on my to-do list. I will loop back and address it.
Hey, Zach, it's Ben Peterson from APD. I have a fairly accurate neighborhood association map I can share with you guys. It's just a PDF. It's not searchable or anything like that, but it may help you out.
Oh, okay.
I'll send that to you tomorrow.
So, well, I want to just mention for everybody that the topic came up when the redistricting commission for the city council redistricting convened, and they were using the neighborhood map from the Tripod CANA site, which I think was the first website. That was the one they were using from the 2000s to talk about how to redraw the maps. And then I started looking into things a little bit more. There's actually about 5 different versions of neighborhood maps out there in cyberspace, but I will tighten up the one that I started working on, and I'll finish that up. Sure. And Pat, you have your hand up? Pat, no, you good? Okay.
Nope.
All right.
I'll put my hand up.
Joe, go ahead.
So we're distributing flyers for the Uwana meeting, which is coming up on December 14th. And one of the points of discussion is going to be redevelopment of some property at 64 Colvin, where the Facino Group is proposing a 5-story, 177 unit housing unit. And they will be there to present. And I think that many of the people throughout the city might be interested in attending that meeting just to see what it is we're being faced with. Not that it's bad, not that it's good, but it requires discussion, and it's in the planning stages right now. And I know, Zach, you could probably speak to this a lot more eloquently than me, but just want to throw that out there. If anybody on this call is interested in redevelopment of property in Albany, this is a big redevelopment with lots of ramifications on infrastructure. Dan Van Riper, you know that we'd have to flush the toilets over to the sanitary sewer on the other side of I-90.
Joe, is that land on Colvin that's already been cleared? It's on the left-hand side as you're going down the hill?
It's the old Armory property. Armory, for whatever reason, they abandoned the new stuff they built, and they moved into another new place. And so that whole section of property that has 1 billion orange cones around it, that's set for redevelopment.
So they're just going to tear down the old building and put this monster up there?
No. Let me go further on this. So Tom Burke, he owns the property. And he he went to the Board of Zoning Appeals and got a variance for replacing, I think, 3 or 4 previous non-conforming uses with one current non-conforming use, which is self-storage, utilizing the existing Armory Garage building and making it into self-storage facility. But it's also next to that is going to be the 197 unit, 5-story high building, right abutting Westland Hills Park, right by the ball fields, Waterston Park there. So, but we've been communicating with the developer since May. We were really hopeful that they were going to present to our December meeting, as they had indicated they wanted to come in November, but they're not going to be presenting. And they do have a couple of renderings of what the building looks like. It's an L-shaped block building, nothing fancy. But we want to bring it forth before the neighborhood association and get as much input from our members as possible next Wednesday night. So, and Maury, you have your hand up.
I was just wondering, well, now I have like 16 questions, but I'll just limit it to 2. One of which is, what is happening with the Colvin spot that was clear?
That was clear cut. The previous owner of that property, Tony DeThomasis, he, I believe, sold it to another party. And I haven't heard much about that, but I'm sure it will have some level of development in the short term.
Okay, because I'm just wondering then what that,
So that parcel did get site plan approval from the city, from the planning department, planning board. So I think it was approved at a 63 unit, 2 separate buildings, with 60 something parking spots and commercial space. But the caveat is, I believe if there's a new owner that wants to develop it and makes any changes to that approved plan, they have to go back through the development plan process again.
oh, okay.
All right, John, you got your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, I wasn't sure if you mentioned it, the apartment complex proposes all for affordable housing. And I think it's 10 units for veterans.
57, John.
57 units for vets?
Units, yes.
Yeah, it's 187 units, 57 units set aside for homeless veterans.
All right. And they've been in touch with Affordable Housing Partnership, according to the thing I see that Ioana passes around. So that's in the mix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's next Wednesday at 7 o'clock. That's at the Montessori School on Tremont Street. Okay. All right. Has anybody have anything else? Okay. All right. Well, the meeting is adjourned until January the 4th. Okay, everybody?
All right.
Thanks, Zach.
Thank you very
Hey,
much.
Zach.
Thank you,
very
Zach.
much, Zach.
Thanks, Zach.
Thank you.